What is the fate of a man if he is converted into another religion before his death? What is conversion? First we must understand the meaning of this word, conversion. Conversion means changing something. Now we can convert many things into some other forms. After that we say, I have converted this into that. Here conversion means changing the views or belief. Is it possible for us to change the belief that we have maintained and developed throughout our life at the last moment or before our death? So we have to analyze this. There is no difficulty for others to give another label. But that label does not serve any purpose. A man who is born in a Buddhist family or a Hindu family maintain his or her belief and practices traditionally or wholeheartedly. At the last moment, another religious groups come and tell, if you accept this religion or if you believe in this God, the God can forgive all your sins that you have committed, then you will get the chance to go to heaven. Now this is the only promise. Does it work? Because whether we have a religion or not, each and every person, according to their way of thinking, way of talking, and way of doing things, good things and bad things, going on accumulating, depositing all the polluted and purified mental energies in the subconscious mind. Every minute, every time when we think or when we allow our mind to develop anger or hatred or jealousy or ill will or selfishness, we pollute the purity of the mind. All these are bad karmic thoughts. And these karmic thoughts never disappear from our mind. The normal mind influence reflects to the subconscious mind and remains as hidden memories occasionally we can trace back, especially when someone is hypnotized or suddenly remember the previous existence or previous birth. All those hidden habits, way of life, good and bad, mental habits that we have deposited in the subconscious mind can be seen. To understand this, it is not necessary for us to have any religion. Psychologists can do this. And those who do not believe in any religion or God or rebirth or karma also come to know that it is true. Then we also develop certain good thoughts in our mind. Occasionally, we cultivate our kindness, sympathy, and we also practice generosity by reducing our selfishness. Then we try to control our mind without allowing our anger or jealousy to flare up, to pollute the purity of our mind. That is called patience or tolerance with understanding. All these are good karmic thoughts. That means by developing such thoughts in our minds, we create good karmas. That is how our mind creates good and bad karmas. Then how did we gain? If not, how did we learn? If not, who taught us to develop these evil thoughts and good thoughts in our mind? Given by a God? No. Given by our parents? No. These are our own mental habits that we have developed life after life. That is why it is very difficult for us to control our mind. Our minds are used to many of those evil thoughts. So we have to learn, we have to think and use full efforts to control that mind, to avoid or not to harbor such evil thoughts in our mind. It is a very big battle. So religious life is important only for this purpose. So naturally people are bad by nature because of this previous experience. But not all. There are some, but very few, who are good, very kind, very honest, very generous from their childhood. This is also their habit. Under any circumstances, some people never change their attitude. They maintain. They want to maintain their honesty. They want to maintain their kindness. There are very few. Now when you study animals, certain animals are very violent and you can see their anger very easily. For nothing they show their anger. A snake, especially cobras, then tigers, lions, but there are some other animals who are harmless, who do not show their anger. That is their nature. So our way of life is a mixture. So we have animal nature, devilish nature also we have. Sometimes we behave like devils, very violent and aggressive. And human nature. Human nature means by maintaining human dignity, they behave as real human beings. And some others maintain divine nature. There are four altogether. Animal nature, devilish nature, human nature, and divine nature. And what is this divine nature? All the other religions explain this as divinity, that which come down from heaven or from God. But Buddhism interprets this in different ways. Divine nature means the supreme knowledge and understanding with purity, not intellect, mere intellect. Our understanding with purity. The four qualities have been introduced by the Buddha as divine nature, if not Brahma. Brahma means God. Brahma Vihara. Brahma Vihara means the way of life of Brahmas. How they behave. To maintain this divine nature, we had to go beyond, or we had to develop further our understanding and certain good qualities. These four qualities explained by the Buddha. Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha. Four. Brahma Vihara. Divinity or divine nature, you can see there. The meaning, metta means goodwill. We cannot extend our goodwill towards others if there is anger, cruelty, jealousy, ill will in our mind. That means mind is free from these evil forces. That is divine nature. Our goodwill is there. If not real friendliness without selfish motive. Karuna, compassion. Compassion is little bit emotional. We develop our kindness or compassion when our human emotion is aroused. But metta is higher than compassion or kindness because there is no selfish motive in metta. But in our kindness, sometimes we can see little bit of hidden selfishness. We want to help others, we are kind to others, but in return we expect something. We are kind to our wife, our husband, our children, our relatives, our friends, our neighbors, but in return we also need something. This is the weakness in kindness. Kindness is very useful. So we have to develop this kindness up to metta. And the third one is mudita. This is a very difficult thing for human beings to practice. That is called sympathetic joy. That means we must learn how to share others' happiness when they experience happiness. But very difficult for us to do that. When you try to do this, jealousy comes and interrupts. Our own people, our family members, or brothers and sisters also. A little bit of jealousy. They are not ready to share this happiness wholeheartedly. So we had to cultivate our mind to share others' happiness without harboring even little bit of jealousy towards them. Last one is the most difficult thing. Upekha, equanimity, unbiased attitudes. So very difficult. We have so many discriminations, differences, based on our race, color, culture, language, tradition, and religion. One of these things always shows, or we bring forward to discriminate others. Then we apply some sort of hostility, hostile attitude towards others. We always maintain, oh, they are our people, belong to our race, our nationality, if not our religion, our culture. These are the things that we have developed to discriminate others. So when we develop our understanding by reducing those human weaknesses, we had to reach up to that maximum level before we attained our sainthood or arahanthood or Buddhahood. As ordinary human beings we can experience this. This is called divine nature. So we maintain animal nature, devilish nature, human nature, divine nature. And through the influence of some of these characteristics, we create our thoughts, we talk according to one of these influences, and we do things according to these habits. This is the way how we go on molding our existence. Existence means not only this life up to the end of our life or death. Beyond that, there will be something. Now this is called existence. So we have already molded throughout our life. So how can another person or another religion come and interfere at the last moment and convert and stop all these things, cancel everything what you have done during your lifetime and take out and put you into another rocket and straight away into heaven? Do you think it really work? So what happened to all those good and bad deeds, words, thoughts, karmas that you have done? Do you think another person can wash away your karma? Impossible. Whether that person is God or Buddha or any other supernatural living beings in this universe, it is impossible for another person to take away either good karma or bad karma. When you read Dhammapada, the Buddha saying, where he has mentioned this clearly, Attana katang papang attana sankilisati. So each and every person individually experience the effects of the bad deeds or the bad karma that he or she has done. Another person is not responsible for this. Attana akatang kammang attana visujjati. By keeping away from evil deeds and doing some good deeds, the good karma that you have accumulated influence you to experience the good result. Another person is not responsible for that. Suddhi asuddhi pacchattam, purity and impurity of the mind. Nanya manya visodhe, another person cannot change. This is the Buddha word. The Buddha also cannot change this. The God also cannot change this. If you have done this, that is why you have to learn this earlier. Not to change at the last moment. You have to learn from your childhood how to live as human being, how to lead a respectable, noble life, how to lead a harmless life. After committing all sort of evil, cruel, wicked thing, last moment you can say, yes, I believe, please take me to heaven, wash away all my sins. Very easy. It is not necessary to practice any religion. You believe all these things. They mislead innocent people. If there is anybody who can take away all our sins or anything whatever we have done, he should have done this at the beginning, not at the last moment. Then we can see that it is true. When someone is born, if there is a God who can wash away our sins, because they say we have original sin, and take away that original sin when we were born, then we have no more sins. But they cannot do this. They allow us to commit more and more sins, but before our death, when we say, yes, I believe, please take away my sin, then he comes But millions of others had to suffer because of you. And who is going to save them? He come to save the sinners. Sinners mean culprit, who have committed all sort of evil things by violating innocent people, disturbing, robbing, raping. And where is the God to save them? That is why we cannot agree with this. This is only for their own benefit, to increase their power and authority and political power, to gain more and more material things. They want to go and converting people. Is there any truth? But have you ever heard? In any country, the Buddhists have ever done this kind of conversion? Because we don't believe that. It is impossible. Our duty is to encourage people to lead a peaceful, respectable life. If others are not ready to accept our belief, our practices, we should not disturb them. We should not force them. Or we should not promise them. But we can talk to them. We can teach them if they are ready to listen. But we have no right to disturb them. This is our policy. So we have maintained this attitude from the very beginning. So the conversion is out of date. Another thing, one person cannot convert another person. Please remember this. I cannot convert you. I can tell you. I can preach. I can give you enough ideas for you to think. After that, you are the only one who can convert your own mind. I cannot change your mind. This is the real meaning of conversion. So whatever ceremonies, recitals, prayers, rites and rituals that they perform in the name of conversion, just to show, but no real religious value in those practices, in those performances or recitals. Everything depends on our own mind. There are some others who convert not only living persons, dead bodies also. I have seen many occasions. They convert dead bodies and really cannot understand what they convert. Not only that, there were some cases where they have converted ashes after cremation. I can tell you an incident a few years ago. A man who was somewhere around in Brickfield. He was a Chinese. He was born in a Buddhist family. His family members knew that he is a Buddhist. But he used to go to churches, attend Christian services and associate with Christians. So Christians thought that he is a Christian. But without others' knowledge, he has become a Muslim. Nobody knew. After his death, his family members wanted to give a Buddhist funeral rite. Then the Christian friends heard that so and so died, and they also approached them. He said, he is a Christian, he used to attend our church services, so we want to perform Christian service. We want to give a Christian funeral. Then they had to get the permit from the police. When they opened the IC card, they found out a Muslim name. Then the Muslims said, well, he is a Muslim. You cannot perform Buddhist or Christian funeral rites. We had to bury according to our Muslim rite. Now this commotion was going on. What to do now? The family members also very stubborn. They say we cannot allow. Then they came to see me. Now this is the situation. So what have you got to say regarding this problem? Then I told them, you must understand, we Buddhists do not fight for dead bodies. That's all. To us, from the real religious point of view, or according to the Buddha's teaching, whether burial or cremation, or in the name of any religion or without any religion, makes no difference. Because that person is no more there. It is only a dirty body. Decomposed, dirty, a smelly thing. Just because we cannot keep at home, either we have to burn or bury. And for that, we do that respectfully. In honor of his name, his only name. The person is not there. Some others say spirit is there, soul is there. But Buddhism says nothing. Only formerly we had 4 elements. Now 2 elements also separated. Heat elements and the motions, breathing in, breathing out also separated. Only 2 elements remain there, solidity and fluidity. Then after 2 days' time you can see how fluids also come out. And that also disappear after a few days. Then solidity remains. And the skeleton remains for 40 to 50 years and disappear. That is what the Buddha says. This is the nature. That departed person is not there. And existence has taken place again somewhere else according to his way of life, what he has done during his lifetime. So you can perform anything, this is only for the namesake. This is the Buddhist attitude. So we never fight for the dead bodies. What for? This is the beauty in the Buddha's teaching, not to cling to all these things. Understand what this life is. So we don't convert anybody. A man during the Buddha's time, very rich man, follower of another religion, Upali. His name was Upali. Came to see the Buddha and told him that he wanted to become a Buddhist. Then the Buddha asked, why? Why in a hurry? Why do you want to become a Buddhist? No, I heard many people are talking that your way of preaching is very good. Did you hear my teaching? He said, no. Then how do you know whether my teaching is good or bad? Just because people talk about me? Then the Buddha says, that is not the way for a man to change his religion. Here, listen carefully. The Buddhist attitude of conversion. The Buddha says, this is not the way for a man to change his religion, just because some people talk about me. First, you must listen to me. Then think whether I am telling you the truth or not, whether you can practice or not. If you can appreciate, understand, fully convince, then you can change your religion. And this man said, I think this advice is more than enough for me to understand the nature of your teaching. See the beauty here. If I approached another religious teacher in this country, or they announce so and so, such a rich man, come and embrace our religion, they announce at once. Instead, you advise me to wait and study and learn and think and consider. This is more than enough. I am fully convinced. Then he became a Buddhist, according to his own conviction. Buddha did not promise to take him to heaven. Then he asked another question. This is also very important to understand the Buddhist attitude. He said, I have been supporting to my religious teachers, priests of my former religion. Actually, now I have nothing to do with that religion. Even then, can I support those religious teachers as a Buddhist? Again, the Buddha says, you can support anybody, any living being in this world. It is a meritorious deed. Not only human beings. You can provide food and other facilities to other living beings also. It is a meritorious deed. So there is no reason whatsoever for you to stop your support. This is Buddhism. What others say. So after embracing our religion, you cannot support Buddhism, Buddhist. You cannot pay respect to another religious teacher. It is a sin, they say. What a wonderful religion. The Buddha says, respect those who are worthy of respect, irrespective of their religion. So Buddhists should not think that we must respect only to Buddhist monks or Buddhist teachers. You can respect anybody who are worthy of respect. Among them there may be Christians, Muslims, Hindus, very respectable religious people. What harm is there? Again, founders of all those religions, the Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, Krishna, as Buddhists, we can respect all those religious teachers. But other religionists can see no harm. You also can respect other religious teachers. Not only that, they say it is a sin. You go to hell if you go and respect them. Is it not jealousy? Is it not narrow-mindedness? Then what else? We are not going to do any harm to anybody when you go and pay respect to Jesus Christ or Muhammad or Krishna. We also can understand they too have done some service to mankind, in appreciation of their services, we can respect them. But others cannot open their mouth in this way. The freedom that we experience in Buddhism is remarkable. Still, many people have not realized this. So, changing this religious label is not the solution to wash away our sins that we have committed or to find out a shortcut to go to heaven. It doesn't work. It is only a mere belief. But the dying man also does not believe. But these people go and promise, don't worry. After your death you will be in heaven. Then after his death nobody knows where he goes, and those who promise also disappear. But there is another important thing. There is a saying in one of the sutras, that is in Mahasamaya Sutra, in Paritta chanting books, you can see this. Yekeci buddhang saranang gatate nate gamissanti apaya pahaya manusang dehang devakayang paripure santya. To reduce your suspicion or disappointment, this sayings in Buddhism gives you confidence. Because others come and tell you, as Buddhists you cannot go to heaven. You must accept their religion. Because they have taken sole agency. Send people to heaven. Others have no right to send to heaven. That is what they say. But here, assume you have not done some good karma, but no one can live in this world without doing good karma. Whether they believe or not, whether they have religion or not, they do lot of good karmas. It is natural. On the other hand, they also do lot of bad karma. This is the nature of our existence. So, by neglecting your religious duties, you have spent your life. Before your death, by realizing this situation, to gain some confidence, what you do? Yekeci buddhang saranang gatase. One who take refuge in the Buddha. That means create some sort of confidence in the mind by realizing the great virtues and the qualities and the wisdom and enlightenment and sacredness of the Buddha. Not because he is a powerful person. So I take refuge in the Buddha. The confidence that you develop at that moment in your mind create happiness. Then you can overshadow. If not, you can overcome for the time being the effects of the certain bad karmas that you have committed earlier. Because you maintain this confidence and happiness in your mind up to the last moment. Ekeci buddhang saranangat nate gamissanti apaya. That person never goes to hell. Impossible. If he has not committed the most severe, heavy, weighty bad karma. And that person never go to hell means never become an animal or never become a ghost or any other suffering state like hell. Because of the mental attitude at the last moment, at the dying moment, confidence and happiness. Nate gamissanti appaya. Then what will happen? Where he goes? Pahaya manusang dehang, manusa deha, human body. So when the life is departed from this human physical body, devakayam paripurisanti, you go and join with other devas. That is called heaven. Heaven means happy and contented in worldly sense. It is a happy, contented place where you people experience less problems, less worries. There are problems, but less. This is the Buddha saying. So how can they say the Buddhists cannot go to heaven? It is very clearly mentioned. Assume you have not taken refuge at the last moment, but earlier you have done meritorious deeds. You have led a respectable life without harming others. You have accumulated a lot of good karmas by helping, supporting, assisting others. So by the virtues of this good karma, again you can go and enjoy your heavenly bliss if you like it. But the ultimate aim of Buddhism, please remember, not heaven. We are not aspiring, praying as the ultimate aim or the final target. It is temporary. Heaven and hells and all these places are temporary places where people experience pleasant and unpleasant life according to the duration, the lifespan of that particular area. That is why we are not crazy to go to heaven. It is a temporary place where we can relax and experience more comfortable, pleasurable life. But one day there will be an end to it. And after that you do not know where to go. That is the danger of it. Those who pray to go to heaven do not know this danger. They think this is permanent, everlasting. The Buddha is the only religious teacher who taught us whether it is Brahma world or Devaloka or heaven, they are all temporary. There is a time limit. Don't create illusions in your mind by thinking about heaven. That is the final goal. Again, I want to remind you these things when others come and try to bluff you and promise to take you to heaven and frighten you. As Buddhists, you cannot go to heaven. Another sayings of the Buddha, also in Dhammapada. If you really want to go to heaven, you have to do only 3 things. This is the Buddha saying. What are those 3? Satchang bhane nakujjaya dajja appasmimpi yachito. These are the three. If you can maintain these three qualities, there is no difficulty for you to go and enjoy your heavenly bliss. What are those three? Satchang bhane. Tell the truth. Can you do that? So your religion is to tell lies as much as possible. In the end, go and pray and ask the God to forgive all your sins. Very easy. The Buddha says, maintain truthfulness. That means honesty. Be honest in simple language. It is not so easy for us to be honest, but very easy to believe in God and pray to God. Be honest. Nakujjaya, second quality. Don't show your anger. Because the Buddha knew. Here he did not say, eradicate your anger. It is impossible to do that at once. Anger remains there. His advice is, under any circumstances, don't show your anger. Control it. So when you control your anger, you don't disturb others, you don't irritate others, you don't hurt others, you don't create enemies. You can maintain very healthy, peaceful atmosphere at home, in the society, the place where you work. You cultivate your mind. Second one. Third one. Dajja pasmimpi achito. Don't be selfish. You have to think of others. Contribute something for the benefit of others, happiness of others, welfare of others. Then reduce your selfishness within your capacity. These are the three things. What is the first one? Tell the truth or be honest. Second one, don't show your anger. Control it. Third one, reduce your selfishness by contributing something for the benefit of others. Ete hi thanehi. Through this vehicle. Gacche devana santike. Go and join with the devas. This is. So the trouble with you, when they come and condemn you, frighten you, you keep quiet. Because you have not learned your own religion. You come and tell, oh, some people say like this, some people say like this, but you do not know what the Buddha said. Always you say, some people say. Let us refer to the Buddha again. Now I want to show you whether you can go to heaven or not. Mata petti bharang jantum kule jetha pachayana sanhang sakhila sambhasang pesuneya pahayana macchera vinaye yuttan satchang kodha vibhungnarang tangve deva tavatinsa heaven, better than others. There are 6 stages where they experience different ways of peaceful life. Tavatinsa. Bodhisattvas also exist there. After fulfilling all their duties in this world and in Tusita, Tavatinsa, Bodhisattva also wait there until the time comes. What are those qualities here? Mata petti bharanjantu. Fulfill your duties towards your father and mother. Whether they are good or bad, it is immaterial. There are certain things you have to do for them. By neglecting your father and mother, allowing them to suffer, or sending them to home for the aged, you come and pray to God, please take me to heaven. Kule jetta pachayana. In our families, there are elders, grandfather, grandmother, uncles and aunties and some others, elders. Listen to them. Their experiences about life, married life, family life, far better than you experience. Through their trials and errors and the mistakes that they have done, they had wonderful experience. So when you listen to them, you can shape up your way of life. Then you can avoid so many pitfalls and problems and difficulties. You can escape. Kule jetta pachayana. Sanhang sakhila sambhasa. When you talk to others, you must know the art of talking. Just because you have a mouth to talk, don't go and talk. Because you can argue, what harm is there if I can talk? It is like this. When you are going to take your food, do you eat everything that people eat? Why do you choose your food? Exactly like this. You have to choose your thoughts, your word, your action, your tone. Sometimes words are very good, but the tone is very bad. So we have to talk gently, politely, without hurting and disturbing others. You can experience heavenly bliss here before you die. Because nobody wants to disturb you if you behave like this. Everybody says so and so is very cultured, very gentle, very noble, and don't disturb. Pesuneya pahayana. Our mouth is horrible. We can control everything, but we cannot control our mouth. Gossiping is our hobby. We enjoy. We create misunderstanding, enmity, lot of problems because of our mouth. Guard our tongue. Without gossiping, using harsh word, vulgar word, wicked words. Again, people respect you. You also culture your own mind. Machera. Reduce your selfishness. Again, come back to the same point. It is very important. That means charity. Contribute something, not only food or money, there are various ways. Even moral support that you can give to relieve others' sufferings or fear or tension. Very important. Or you can console those who are suffering from sicknesses or worries and problems. Give them confidence. That is your contribution. Not necessary to spend money to help others. When somebody is in fear, then you can give confidence, don't worry. There are various ways for you to give that confidence. Simply by saying don't worry doesn't work. Vinaya, discipline. So there are different kinds of disciplines, or in our disciplinary code, in different places you have to adapt different kind of discipline. Now when you come to a place of worship or temple, you do not behave just like in the society or at home. You change your attitude, your way of talking, your humility and humble way of life and discipline you train. That is called discipline. The way how you sit down, the way how you lie down, the way how you walk, how you talk to others, discipline. So at home also, there are certain disciplines you have to observe when you talk to your father and mothers and elders, your wife and husband and children, different attitude. All these are disciplines. Again in the society, the place where you work, you must know how to talk without irritating, provoking, disturbing them. Your movement, your attitude, people observe very carefully. Discipline in our mind, discipline in our words, discipline in our action. Satya, again truthfulness. Earlier also we have discussed, this is another important quality. Kodha, again, control your anger. Now see, how many there now? So if we can maintain all these qualities just now I mentioned, there is no difficulty for you to go to heaven. Not necessary to go and pray to anybody. If you want to go to heaven, then who can say that you cannot go to heaven? At the same time I told you, our ultimate aim is not heaven. Because we know the impermanency, uncertainty of this heavenly life. The Buddha was there on many occasions before he come down to this world to be born as human beings. And he has explained to us the nature of heavenly life. In fact, in certain Devalokas, Deva realm, the way of life is very, very delicate. Death can take place at any moment. Kidda Padusika Deva. One place where the Buddha says. Those devas who play, go on playing, and after that exhausted too much, and their life is so tender, and they can face death because of this tiredness. No strength to maintain that life. Again, another place. Those devas who have lost their temper, flare up their anger, that delicate physical body is such, at once death takes place because of this anger. We do not know all these things. It's very uncertain, but can spend a long, long period. But one day there will be an end to it. So the conversion is not the solution to find out our salvation. So here now we are talking about salvation, not talking about heaven. Final salvation is not heaven. What is salvation? Salvation means complete liberty, freedom from physical and mental unsatisfactoriness. That is called salvation. Human beings also experience physical and mental unsatisfactoriness. Animals and others, of course, more than that. Devas and Brahmas also experience unsatisfactoriness in their life. Physically, less than human beings. Because the formations of their physical bodies are not like ours. So when the Buddha talked about sufferings, or the dukkha and dukkha, there are three kinds of dukkha. Dukkha dukkha, sankhara dukkha, viparinama dukkha, divided into three, some more. We always talk about dukkha dukkha. That means pain, suffering, physically, mostly physically, that we experience. This is called dukkha. Now sicknesses, old age, pains create lot of suffering. We take only this much as dukkha. This is only very mild kind of suffering. There is another one, sankhara dukkha. Sankhara means the combinations of five elements together. When these elements, in simple language, mental energy and the mind and matter, these two kind of energies combined together, different kind of formations take place. As human beings, animals, devas, brahmas, ghosts and devils, or this or that. And this combination create friction, clashes, conflicts, imbalance. This dukkha you can find even in the plant life also. Not only human beings or animals or other living beings. The combinations of elements and energies create friction. That is the worst kind of suffering. And the third one, viparinama dukkha. We experience this also. Viparinama means changing. Things are going on changing every second. Physically, mentally. Always going on changing. But these changes can become noticeable after some time. When small children become teenagers, we can see the changes. When teenagers become adults, we can see the changes. When these adults become old men and old ladies, we can see changes. We don't like many of these changes. Again we change our places, our things, our valuable things, and separate. We had to separate, depart. This is also another kind of suffering. Now you can understand why the Buddha says existence creates suffering. Whether you are in heaven, Devaloka or Brahmaloka or human world or any other form, subject to many kinds of suffering, not free from suffering. Devas in the Devaloka, in heaven also fight. Because they have craving, they have jealousy. So they fight. Then where is peace? Now you can understand. So the fate of a man, still I did not answer the question. Because I don't know where that man is now. The fate of a man when he is converted into another religion before his death. So this conversion cannot change. This is the answer. Cannot change the destiny. Another person, another religion cannot do that. I am responsible for my own good and bad karmas. Nobody else can change it. Only my mind can change. If I change my mind, not simply by maintaining belief, mere belief or faith, but with confidence, with conviction, with understanding that this is true. Just now I mentioned, although we have not done very good or very powerful karma at the last moment, or a few days earlier, or a few months earlier, we realize the religious value, significance of the Buddha, his sacredness, and the truth that he has revealed, and the holy life that he has led, and the guidance that he has given. Then we develop confidence and take refuge. Then we also develop confidence because of that happiness appear. So if we maintain this happiness until we die, this happiness paves the way for us to avoid unfortunate state. But that place where we were landed, remember, not permanent. If we have not done any more good karmas there, again, the bad karmas that we have done earlier can come and catch us. That is the uncertainty. But you can continue life after life by doing more and more good deeds, good karmas. Then you can avoid. Because these karmas slowly become powerless to attack you. This is the way how we find out our salvation. Although we have done certain bad things or mistake early part of our life, but there is no another person to come and take away, forgive your sins. But if you act wisely, you can forgive your own sins by using your own mind and understanding. 1 hour 15 minutes.